have decided while I'm getting ready that I want to tell you a story on how karma is real. We're getting ready for sessions right now. I need to talk about this. But let's go all the way back to 2005. And as y'all know, I'm a professional medium. I went to a school down in Southeast Texas called good old Dobie. Shout out down there. The first big boyfriend I had, you know, like the first one that you fall in love with in high school and it just like takes your soul out of your body. Well, this is the one I'm talking about. For privacy, we're gonna call him Travis. The other names will be changed in this story as well. I was a sophomore, and oh my God, every single bell and whistle went off. He was perfect. We hung out together all the time. We went driving around. He let me drive his car even though I wasn't supposed to. You know, all those things before I had a license. I mean, listen to every single sappy rock song you could possibly imagine, eating crappy food together. It was staying up until 2 o'clock in the morning. It was amazing. And even the V card. The relationship started probably in early August. And my God, it was so good, or I thought it was really good. And at the time I had one really good best friend, and I had a couple other of best friends. We kind of had a group together. We had this group that consisted of me and 2 other girls. Okay, I had known two of them since I was in 3rd grade, and the other one had kind of like popped up when I was in 8th grade, right? Didn't go to our school, but was friends with the other girl, and so she became part of the group. Okay, all of us would hang out with my boyfriend and the group of his friends. And it started getting to that point, you know, I was just a very nice person. I didn't trust my gut yet. And it started getting to the point that it was weird that like my boyfriend would sometimes say, hey, I can't hang out with you. Why? Well, because I picked up your 2 friends and we're down at the beach 30 minutes away. And I was like, oh. And so I would talk to my mom. I was like, Mom, can you take me down there? Because I'm 15. And she's like, I can't. Can you just tell them to come pick you up? And they wouldn't. I didn't think anything of this because I'm, 15 at the time. And I was like, oh, wow, too bad. Naive. So anyways, as the months went on, we ended up having a thing called homecoming. And I was so looking forward to homecoming. Oh my God, me and my sister, we essentially got matching dresses. The guy that she went with was best friends with the guy that I had. We were all part of the same group. It was like the epiphany wonderland of teenage bliss. We went to the dance. We left the dance. I had to go home because my parents were more strict than this guy's mother. We went home and we said, hey, we'll see you tomorrow. It's Saturday, let's go get lunch and let's hang out. Okay, cool. I'm so looking forward to seeing the love of my life. And that night, my friends called me and they're like, hey, we can't do anything the next day with you. And I was like, why? They go, because we're gonna be busy. I was like, oh, I thought we were all gonna hang out. And they go, no. I go, okay, that's fine. That's fine. They made up some excuse like their mom is doing something in France or something. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyways, as that night went on, I went to bed and I had this like weird feeling in my gut. I was like, something's not right. I was like, you know what, gut, be quiet. Just go to bed. Usually my boyfriend would text me and he would say goodnight, or he'd call the house phone. That's right, I didn't have a cell phone yet. He'd call the house phone and he'd say goodnight, and we would talk until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And when my parents popped on the other phone line to tell us goodnight, we would hang up and then call each other right back. That night, there was no call. I was still madly in love with this guy. The next day, I called him and nobody answered. I called him an hour later, nobody answered. It's weird because it was Saturday and he was supposed to be watching his little sister. I called him again, nobody answered, and we were supposed to have lunch in like 15 minutes. So my mom said, Amy, let me go ahead and just take you over there. Maybe there's something going on. I said, okay, cool. Thank you, Mom. So she took me over there. His car was there. I walk up to this townhouse. I knock on the door. Nobody answers. but I notice that the door is kind of ajar. I open the door. I'm asking, calling for his little sister. Nobody answers. So I walk upstairs. I hear giggling and shifting. And I open the door, and he's in bed with these two best friends of mine. That day, I lost the person that I fell in love with, or at least I thought it was. And I lost two of my best friends that I had since 3rd grade. I went home. I don't think I got out of bed for 2 or 3 days. I think I missed school. I was so sad. I don't remember sobbing that bad ever. So flash forward, I didn't talk to him at all after that. I never talked to him again. I didn't want to. But a couple years later, these two friends tried to come back into my life, and I just really wasn't having it either. I kept them on the edges, the fringes of our relationship, and one of them, the added one, gradually fell off. And the other main one that I had this relationship with since 3rd grade, we kind of just talked. She ended up getting pregnant, having postpartum depression. We talked. She ended up falling into drugs. We talked. She never could find her way out of it. And then she died. I talk to her now. We're good friends now. Almost a year ago, I'd say about 8 months ago, my husband calls me into his office and he says, "Hey, you got an email from a guy saying he was one of your best friends in high school, and he wants you to do a promotion for his new swimsuit company." Guess who it was? Guess who it was? I simply replied back, "No." The moral of the story is, don't cheat on anybody. Don't try to be friends with people, because friendships shouldn't be hard. They should be easy. And don't screw somebody off so bad, because you'll never know if you'll need their help in the future. You know who you are. I do not want to push your stupid swimsuit line. Go find one of those girls, but not me. At what point do you think he woke up and chose this option? Did he just get up and have a cup of coffee and was like, "Hey, she doesn't remember that. I'm a Scorpio. I remember everything. I remember what you did do, you didn't do, you will do, you can do, you won't do, what your mama did, what your brother did, what you will do, what your cat did. I remember it all." At least you could have came in with an apology first. There you go. Moral of the story, be nice.
Warning, this story contains some graphic, not wholesome things. My evil grandfather got eaten by his dog. Whenever I think about doing something that I shouldn't do, I think about this story that happened to me for real in my life. If you ever think karma isn't real, I will tell you right now, it is. My pappy was a not nice man, and he had a very strong reputation for being a not nice man. He made the decision in his life to not be a better person. Ended up not speaking to him for several years, and then we reconnected, and my mammy, his wife, was passing away from cancer, and so we were going to say our final goodbyes. And I believe 2 weeks after she passed, he had passed away, I think from a stomach thing, in the bathroom. It's not funny. Karma's funny, but this isn't funny. Nobody checked on him for 2 weeks because he didn't have strong connections in his life. When The police did find him. There was not much left of him. He had a Yorkie named Eddie. Eddie didn't have food for 2 weeks. Pappy was on the ground in the bathroom. Let's just say we were not allowed to see my Pappy's remains when we were contacted. My evil grandfather got eaten by his dog. There's a horrible fate that I would never wish on anyone. Karma is real. If you ever want to get revenge on someone, just wait and watch. Something will happen that is worse than you could have ever whipped up yourself. I could have never managed that. My Pappy was a very tough man. To pass away in the bathroom, in the worst room, the bathroom. I feel like that's the most vulnerable room in the whole house. And be there for 2 weeks. And your little cute tiny dog eats so much of you that you can't even be seen. That's something. So think about that.
Why I believe in karma. Story time. When my mom was a child, she was bullied relentlessly by the other girls in school, mainly because her family was poor. But there was this one girl named Renee, and for whatever reason, she hated my mother. Renee spent every day making my mama's life a living hell in front of everyone. So all throughout elementary school, Renee would call my mama poor, ugly, fat, short, ratty. When my mom would walk in the room, Renee would say, "Do y'all smell that? Oh, it's just blank because they're homeless. They're living on the streets. She don't have anywhere to stay because her daddy's a drunk and he beats her mama. She stinks." They also bullied my mom because she had these bright blue eyes that were brighter than the sky. It was a very unique color that you didn't see that often. They stuck out. So Renee would call my mama demon child, spawn of Satan, the exorcist, and accuse her of being possessed. They would follow my mama around school and pretend like they were throwing holy water on her to cast away the demon. And that was their go-to insult because they knew that wasn't something she could change. They made my mama's life a living hell up until she left that school, and it always stuck with her. And by the time I was growing up, my mama did not tolerate bullying at all. So one day, many years later, my mama comes out to school to pick one of us kids up, and that's where she runs into Renee. When my mama saw Renee's daughter Brittany, she was in shock. She couldn't believe it. Because Renee's daughter Brittany had the exact same color eyes as my mama and a lazy eye. Brittany had a lazy eye that turned inwards, and because her eyes were so blue, it stuck out like a sore thumb. So of course all the other kids would pick on her, calling her cross-eyed, lazy-eyed, four eyes, demon child, the exorcist. And guess what? Renee was at school that day to pick Brittany up after she got into a fight with another girl who was accusing her of being possessed because of her eyes. Kids were also bullying her daughter for being homeless and coming to school in dirty clothes and smelling bad, just like she did to my mama. Another time I saw this happen was with a girl I went to school with. She used to bully people all the time about their teeth. You got butter teeth, yellow teeth, rotten teeth. She was always bullying people about their teeth, especially if you were missing teeth. So I run into her a few years after I get out of high school, and all her big, beautiful teeth that she was so proud of were now rotten, jagged, and most of them were missing. And she said when her son's permanent teeth come in, they quickly begin to rot, and so much that the dentist had to put caps on all his teeth. She told me that she started going back to church to ask for forgiveness for all the bullying she'd done while in school because she felt like karma was coming for her and her child. Now, I'm not saying that karma gets everyone because we know it don't, but I think there are some people who karma catches up with, and usually it's through their own children.
I wanted to tell this story about a client. Obviously, it was going to remain anonymous for legal reasons, but karma at its finest. So basically, I have this client. She's calling in saying that her husband's going to divorce her, that he told her, just woke up one day after like 60 years of marriage and was like, "I don't want to be with you anymore. We're getting a divorce. I'm leaving you with nothing. I'm going to go live my best life on a boat." Mind you, she's like your typical 1940s housewife. Like, she's never worked a day in her life. She was a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home wife, took care of the kids, raised them, took care of him, and just did everything for him. She was even given a weekly allowance to like take care of everything in the house. So like, mind you, she's never worked. Like, this man has always financially taken care of her, and she's always physically taking care of him. But one day he just decided he didn't want to be married anymore, and he was leaving her, and he was leaving her with nothing. So she contacted our office for a divorce, wanted to get spousal support. So we started the legal process of a divorce. We were going to get her emergency spousal support. Mind you, this is the sweetest lady ever. She didn't even want to go after spousal support. She kind of just wanted to file for the divorce first as kind of like a last jab at him. But the universe said, nope, you can't literally or physically live without this woman. That's what the universe said. Because maybe a month into the divorce, this man passed away. I know it's not supposed to be funny that someone passed away, but he died on his boat. And if that's just not a full 180, 360 karmic. I think that's karma at its finest, because he was really about to leave this woman with nothing, high and dry, didn't get a fuck about what was gonna happen to her. Like, he was just gonna leave her and go live his best life on the boat. But the universe said, no, we're not doing that, because you can't live without her. And he passed away on his boat. And now, since she's still legally his wife, she gets everything. She gets everything. Even the boat. Even the boat. I just think that's beautiful. That was a beautiful story. I'm gonna tell it to my kids one day. But yeah, that's karma. Karma is real. If you don't believe karma is real, karma's fucking real.
Let me just tell you, eventually, karma will get to everyone eventually. So, my mom had this client, and she and her husband were, together, whatever, and they had a 6-year-old son. The son got a really bad cancer. It was a genetic cancer, whatever, blah, blah, whatever. While the son had cancer, it was a hard time for the family, obviously. The husband decides to go and cheat on the wife, neglect the family, while the son's fighting, battling cancer. He decides to go cheat on his wife, all this shit. Now it's a divorce, it's messy, blah, blah, blah. So now the wife is not only dealing with the divorce, getting cheated on, but now she's dealing with her son possibly dying. All this, right? Whatever. They're divorced, whatever. The son eventually beats the cancer, thank God. Right? But guess what? The dad later gets that same exact cancer that the son beat, because it was genetic, from his side. Anyway, he dies from the cancer, though. He died from it very, very soon, too. The son beat it. The father died. So, what happened? His son got cancer. He decided, fuck my son, fuck being here for my family, fuck being here for my wife, let me go cheat on her. And then, what happened to him? He died with that very same cancer that his son beat. So, yeah, go, if you want to go be a cheater, if you want to go and neglect your family while they're terminally ill and stuff like that, go ahead. Go ahead. But just know you'll probably end up dying. As you should.
Thought I'd just come on here and expose my narcissist ex-boyfriend and how he got karma by breaking both of his legs, ankles, and feet. Also, as a warning for those, look out for the signs, watch for those red flags. Do not succumb to the manipulation of a narcissist. He screamed and yelled at me because I was washing our pot in the sink and it was clanging against the porcelain, and he yelled and screamed at me because he said the pot is going to scrape against the porcelain and that I don't give a shit about our sink. He also snapped at me because I needed to defrost a pound of ground turkey, and you could defrost it in the microwave, and he yelled at me because he said he's never seen anyone defrost turkey like that before. He screamed and yelled at me because our dog was on a retractable leash, and our dog went around the corner of a wall, and the leash ran against the wall, and he yelled at me saying that I don't care about our house, it's going to leave a black mark on the wall. He also screamed and yelled at me that same day because I opened the car door to let our dog in, and our dog jumped on the seat, very small dog, and he yelled and screamed at me saying I should have picked him up because his claws are going to scratch the seat. And this was on the way to my parents' house on Christmas Day. He then began to scream and yell at me for the next hour and a half driving up to my parents' house on Christmas Day, telling me how I don't give a shit about our house, about our car, and then he started going in on me and things that were wrong with me. Saying that I was fat, that I didn't give a shit about him and our nice things, that I was not smelling quite right down below, and saying that I need to get that checked out because something's wrong with me. He screamed at me when I needed to stop to use the bathroom because I have IBS and he also has intestinal issues, and I needed to stop and use a bathroom that wasn't in the safest area, and he screamed and yelled at me and said that I was selfish for needing to stop and use the bathroom. He also screamed and yelled at me one time when we got to the top of the trailhead of a hike and I forgot our snacks, and he called me selfish for forgetting the snacks. He screamed and yelled at me the day that I moved in with him. This was the first time that I saw his actual narcissistic self and the abuse began, calling me saying that basically he was my little bitch for helping me move all my stuff that day, and proceeded to scream at me all the way to our new house. He screamed and yelled at me because I freaked out because his dog drank his coffee and I was freaking out saying we need to take him to the vet, and he screamed at me saying that I'm overreacting and I need to calm the fuck down. He attempted to commit suicide by driving to a bridge, and I knew that's where he was going, so I drove up there to stop him, but the police had already arrived on scene. Someone saw him on the bridge and called it in. When the police brought me down to him, the first thing he said to me was, we're going to have to talk to our therapist about this when we go to therapy because I'm mad at you that you called the cops. And I said, I wasn't the one that called the police, somebody else did. One time he was screaming and yelling at me, and we went to In-N-Out, and I got out to use the bathroom. And when I came out, my sister and my brother-in-law were there, and I had to act normal. I got in the car and we drove away, and he said, "Great, you were crying. Now they're gonna think that I abuse you. Way to make me look bad." He proceeded to cheat on me by texting his best friend's wife very inappropriately. Then he proceeded to text another woman on Instagram inappropriately, and she reached out to me. Both of them reached out to me and showed me the evidence that he was talking to them. He told me time and time again that his mother was a grandiose narcissist, trying to convince me to not like her, but she was always extremely nice to me. But it turns out I found out from his ex-wife that their therapist called him the grandiose narcissist. So he was the narcissist, not his mother. I remember my car was parked in our garage and it was too close to the wall, and I had an appointment that I needed to go to, and his work was 15 minutes down the road. He could leave whenever he wanted, and I couldn't back out, so I called him saying, "Would you be able to come home real quick and just back the car out?" He proceeded to scream at me on the phone, saying that this is ridiculous, and hung up. He shows up 15 minutes later, gets out of the car, and he was like, "This is very selfish of you. You're being selfish." Backs the car out and then just leaves and goes back to work. There's even more to this, but a couple years after I left him, he was doing something that he loves, riding motorbikes, like motocross, and somehow got in an accident that broke both of his legs, feet, and ankles. If that ain't karma, I don't know what that is. So Cody, if you're seeing this, I want you to know that this is the person who you truly are. And I wish I could warn every woman on the planet to never be with you, because you will never change, and you got it from your father.
My daughter's stepmom just got instant karma. She got in a car accident, and I fully do believe that it was because she left my daughter last night at the movies by herself. She wanted her to wait 3 fucking hours for her father to pick her up. My ex-husband and I were married for only 3 years. We recently got divorced not that long ago, and right after the divorce, he decided to get into another relationship. They ended up getting married after knowing each other for a couple of months, which I thought it was crazy, but I'm not gonna fucking judge him. Like, I moved on with my life, and I would hope that he would as well. As soon as she came into our life, I fucking just started hating my life so much, because I could not believe how heartless this bitch was towards my fucking daughter. Now, my daughter's stepmom has 2 girls of her own, and they're the same age as my daughter. And so I initially was very happy because my daughter is just one. We don't have any other children, so I figured they could get along. They could maybe, you know, become really good sisters, really good friends, whatever it may be. And they did. Like, her stepmom's daughters were amazing, very sweet, very caring, completely opposite from their mom. Recently, my daughter's stepmom has this thing where she will leave my daughter wherever they go. If they go to the store, if they go to the gas station, if they go to the mall. And what she does is she takes her daughters, we'll leave mine, and then we'll call my ex-husband and tell him, "Your daughter was fucking around. Your daughter was not paying attention. I didn't have time to sit there and wait for her. So now you have to go get your daughter." And my daughter would end up staying wherever they were for maybe 2 or 3 hours, because we live in a little town where there's literally nothing. So we have to drive far away just to go to the store or the mall. And so she would obviously have to wait for her dad. I brought this exact conversation up to her stepmom, and I told her, "Look, the next time that you do this shit, you're gonna have to answer to me, because there's no way in hell that my daughter's not paying attention. She won't even text me when she's with you, because she's paying attention so that she can make sure that you don't leave her wherever the fuck you are." So for a couple of weeks, everything was fine and dandy. My daughter was not left anywhere until last night. The girls decided to go to the movies. My daughter ran to the restroom. Okay, she's fast. She does not sit there on her phone or anything like that whatsoever. Her stepmom said, you know, "Go to the bathroom. I'll wait for you." I guess her girls came out before my daughter did. And they just left. Like, it was late as hell. There was no one there. There was no one there other than obviously the employees, but my daughter was waiting outside. And she called me and said, "Hey, you know, my stepmom's gone. Like, what am I supposed to do?" And I said, "Call your fucking dad. Like, I live farther than they do. It's gonna take me a while to get to you. What the fuck is going on?" So again, she waited a couple hours until her dad got there. And then I just got a call a little bit ago, and I don't know why, I was very excited in my soul because of everything that's been going on. My ex-husband told me that I have to go get my daughter because he has to go meet his wife. Because apparently she's in the emergency room. She got in a car accident. The brand new car that she just bought that she decided not to put any insurance on, it's fucked. It's totaled. Karma's a bitch.
If you are having any doubts that karma is real and that the universe will have your back in situations, I need you to listen to what happened to me this summer. At the beginning of the summer, I met this hot idiot, and I was like, he's pretty hot. I didn't know he was a full idiot at that point, but like the signs were there. I was blind. My therapist has to be disappointed in my behavior. I just reeled them in, the narcissist. They are drawn to me. And I had some suspicions that he was being a little fuckboy, and I even asked him, I'm like, hey, like, if you're seeing other people or, like, trying to see other people, just let me know so I can peace out. And he's like, no, it's only you, baby. So I was like, bet. And then one day I got a call, ring, 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 that I was going to be on a TV show and that I needed to leave the country and go film the TV show. That's not a scam. That's a real thing that happened. This ties into the story. Anyway, while I was over filming my little television program, he was at home being a fuckboy. And I know this because of the vibes. I know this because of the energy, and I could piece it together with his online activity. So I asked him, I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, no, it's just you, baby, it's just you. But of course, I was over there shitting my pants because I'm like, is the person I really like back home being shitty? And it turns out he was. And I promise I had actual evidence beyond the vibes and the energy and the online activity because my friend sent me a screenshot of his Tinder profile that was recently updated. And if you know, this is bad. Me, obviously hurt, posted the screenshot of the Tinder profile onto my local Are We Dating the Same Guy page to warn other people because I'm like, this behavior sucks, and I also would like to tell other people, like, this guy's doing this to you as well. So I posted it, and damn, the comments were pretty damning. The entire town, cities nearby, state opened up with all these awful stories about this guy. People are like, he gave my friend chlamydia. He was just dating my friend last week. He did this on this week. He wasn't with you that weekend because he was with me, and he was doing this with this other girl. Like, just damning evidence. I'm like, fuck. So I was obviously pretty sad, but it was also very comforting to meet the other girls that he was also seeing all summer, and we ended up being besties. Hey, can I also just say that these Facebook groups are amazing? Amazing. We are women in STEM using technology to defend ourselves, to protect ourselves. I love it. Anyway, here's where the story gets good. I didn't even tell this man about the Facebook group, anything. I just texted him. I was like, fuck you. Have a good life. You fucked with the wrong girl. And then I blocked his ass because of course I did. He does not get access to me or anything about me now. That's his punishment. Well, part of the punishment. This is where karma came in. 3 days after all of this went down, he was sitting at his workplace and a car came through the window and hit him. He didn't sustain any major injuries. He was completely fine. But still, a car came through the window and hit him. And then that night, I met the best person I have ever met. The sweetest, kindest, cutest, best, smartest, like the best person. And now we've been dating for 2 months. And I'm really fucking happy. In the words of Taylor Allison Swift, karma is my boyfriend. And karma is a relaxing thought. And aren't you envious that for you, it's not? That's all.
Sometimes karma works in such funny ways. So about a year ago, I started dating this football player who was constantly lying to me. He was seeing multiple people, although he was saying that he wasn't, blah, blah, blah. After I found out all of his lies and confronted him with them and ended things, another player shot a ball against his throat. It was so ironic that this man that was constantly lying got a football shot against his speech organ, and then he had a fracture and he had to go to the hospital and everything. Remember that day because I still had my Google alerts on from when I used to check the game stats. I got these news in. I may have been a bit happy about it. I'm sorry, it's funny. So yeah, karma works. Lies always come out. And thank you for your service to this other player. What a man.
Let me share you guys a story of how I knew karma is real. Back when I was in high school, my 18th birthday was coming up on May 28th, and I didn't have any plans yet of how I wanted to celebrate. I was thinking of doing a birthday dinner with my friends. So one of my ex-friends, let's call her Brenda, no offense to anybody named Brenda, I'm just picking a random name, she decides to host her sister's Sweet 16 birthday party on May 28th. And I was confused because Brenda's sister's birthday is not until mid-June. So obviously I couldn't help but wonder, like, why the hell would she pick my birthday to host the party? Like, was this intentional? And Brenda, like, starts to invite everyone in our grade 12 class, even our circle of friends. I know I could just do my birthday dinner on the weekend, but hey, like, I have the right to be pissed off. Like, why did she decide to pick my birthday to host her sister's party? And my other friends even acknowledged how wrong that was, and they were comforting me, saying, like, don't worry, we'll do something else. I remember the day of my birthday, my friends and I were in the hallways where our lockers are. We're just chilling, and then Brenda comes by, and she doesn't even say happy birthday to me. She just starts talking about the party. What are you guys gonna wear? And my friends had to interrupt her and say, hey, don't you realize that it's Sydney's birthday today? And she turns to me and she goes, and then just gives me a hug. Like, what the fuck? All I kept thinking about was, why am I friends with this girl? Like, she is not a friend. And from that day on, I just cut her off. She's a walking red flag, selfish. I just closed that chapter. I was like, you know what? I'm glad this happened. I got to see who she really is. So a couple of months later in September, my friend, let's call her Jessica, calls me up and says that her sister is gonna have a Sweet 16 party at a restaurant. She invited everyone in her class, including our grade 12 class. And I said, yeah, like, I'm down, I'll be there. And she goes, oh, by the way, Brenda's pissed off and she's not coming to the party. And I go, okay, like, why is she pissed off? And Jessica goes, well, the day that my sister's having her party is when it's Brenda's birthday. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, I have no sympathy for Brenda. And what the hell? Like, all I kept thinking was the universe has a weird sense of humor that I can't believe this is happening. And I had to remind Jessica of what Brenda did and her actions, and that what goes around comes around. And Jessica was like freaking out about this, saying like, yo, this was unintentional, that we didn't plan for this to happen. Since then, I've been a big believer in karma. And just like what my girl Taylor Swift says, sweet like justice, karma is a queen.
Story time. And this is for anybody who has lost a friend or been kicked to the curb or treated badly. So I'm a schoolgirl. Yes, I'm going that far back. And I was best friends with someone, and we'd been friends for years. And then we kind of went into sixth form, which is like 16 years old. And she basically joined a crowd of people that were going out drinking a lot and going out to pubs. And my parents were really strict and would not let me go. So, you know, I was like begging and begging, like, please, I really want to go. Like, all my friends are going and I feel like really left out. And slowly but surely, this friend started detaching herself from me. And I remember we even had a conversation once where she was like, it's such a shame because you're really missing out on everything. Like, great friend. Long story short, friendship ended. I was devastated. I thought she was my best friend. Fast forward a few years down the line, I am heading up a major global project for a huge telco company, and I've been told that I need to attend a meeting with some design company. So anyway, I go to this meeting. I'm in a designer suit. I look good. My face is all done. My hair is like glorious. And I've got this like 7.5 carat ring on my finger. And I'm in like, stilettos, and I walk in, sit down, and I'm waiting for this meeting to start, just like really chilled out with like the head of marketing next to me. And the door opens and in she comes. Years later, and she just looks like an older version of herself. Like, she's still wearing the same clothes that she was wearing when we used to be at school, but she just looks older, and her face dropped. When she saw me sitting there, she went, like, it was cartoonish. And I was like, oh, Elizabeth? And she started fumbling, like, oh, I thought it was you. I saw your name on the email. I was like, oh, I didn't even notice the email. It's true. So there she is. She's like a designer for this agency. She looks terrible. I don't know, I'm being nasty. And then, like, literally, she was so uncomfortable. She was fumbling. She dropped her laptop, the plug for the laptop as well, and she was under the table scrambling. And I thought, she's literally sat opposite me now, but she's under the table opposite, trying to get the plug into the floor, into the. And while she's down there, I'm thinking, what she's seeing right now is this designer suit, black patent leather, Christian Louboutins. And I'm just sat there waiting for her. Like, come on, let's see what you got. Oh my. So anyway, she finally gets off the floor, plugs her laptop in, and we start the meeting. And it's this big global project, and she's supposed to be doing some design work for us as part of this agency. So she's like, well, who do I go to sign this off? And the head of marketing's... And she's like, oh, you're taking care of small business. And I was like, yeah. And then she was like, moved on to the next bit. She's like, okay, and then for corporate, who signs it off? And the head of marketing was like, her. She's the boss. And her face was like, oh, you're doing corporate as well. And I was like, yeah, I'm the boss. And you now work for me. And I'm going to critique every little thing you send my way. And if you do anything wrong, you're not getting paid. When I tell you, I mean, honestly, it wasn't, I wasn't like being nasty, but there was so much joy that went through me of like, Karma came, she served that champagne, and we sipped it together. It was one of the most glorious experiences. It wasn't nothing nasty happened, but it was a really beautiful serving. So I just want to say, listen, you just don't know what's going to come down the line. You don't know when Karma is going to come and she's going to bring a beautiful chilled bottle of bubbly. So whatever's going on, keep your chin up. Just do you. You do you, darling, and allow whatever is meant to be to be.
Remember health class in middle school? It was a very awkward time growing up, and a very awkward class to be in, learning about different subjects of, adult nature. And, they would teach us things about, smoking and what that could do to your body. And one day they brought in somebody that had their voice box removed from smoking, and he had the electronic thing on his throat. And being an immature 7th grader, 8th grader, I thought this was hilarious. And not to be in a mean way, but I just couldn't control myself from laughing. And it was so wrong. And I knew it then, and I know it now. So, karma hit me very fast that day. Later in the day, I had a baseball game, and I was a pitcher, and I played the outfield because I didn't like fielding ground balls because of bad hops. I got hit in the nose one time, and that was it. So coach needs me to play first base that day, and I'm like, I don't play the infield, you know that. And he's just like, just get down on the ball, you'll be fine, So ground ball hit the first base. The coach is right there on the first base line, like, get down. So, I got low. I did what I was supposed to do. But the ball hit the base and hit me right here on my throat and knocked me right out, knocked the wind out of me. I mean, I was down. So they end up calling an ambulance, and I get taken out on a stretcher and brought to the hospital. And the doctor said if that baseball had been, maybe an inch to the right, then lights out for me. So karma's real, karma's fast and swift, and it got me enough to realize that you shouldn't make fun of people. And it didn't take me out, but it gave me a big wake-up call. And so I try to treat people the right way now. So that's all.
Hey, do you want to hear the grossest karma story you have ever heard? Here we go. So this story was told to me by a friend of mine that's in the funeral industry, okay? And so this is not actually my personal story, right? But listen to this. So when someone dies, we go into homes, and all the homes are different, right? The body can be in the bathroom. The body could be in the bed, in the recliner, in the bathtub. I'm trying to think of all the places that I've actually, made a removal. And all homes are different. Some homes are cleaner than others. Not everyone grows up the same way. Some people grow up in a really clean home. Others grow up in a messy home. People are trying, right? You just never know what you're going to walk into when you go to a home. Well, this particular day, the director that I'm talking about, he was an apprentice. And an apprentice is, of course, just somebody learning under a licensed funeral director. So he and another apprentice were going on a removal with a funeral director. And the description of the funeral director wasn't so great. So we all train under different people, right? And some people are better teachers than others. But what I was told is this particular director was being a total jerk that day. So when the three of them, there were two apprentices and the director, they went to the house, and there was a winding staircase that went up to the second floor. So there was no air conditioning, and the director was in a really bad mood, right? So the three of them, two apprentices and the director, they go up the staircase, and they cannot believe their eyes. So all around the room, they see buckets of pee and poop everywhere. And it is the worst smell you could possibly ever imagine. This poor man had been living on the second floor and might not have been down those stairs in who knows how long. So the director told the apprentices to take the cot upstairs. They went up the stairs, and the two apprentices were kind of at the top, when they were trying to get the body back down the stairs. And the director was just yelling at them, just, wanting to get out of there, but he was also being really rude. So my apprentice friend said that he remembers this scene as kind of like a slow motion horror film. While the two apprentices, while they were upstairs, the director was down below, right? So the director was looking up at them, and one of the apprentices accidentally kicked one of the buckets, and it went over the director's head. I cannot imagine anything worse than that, because when he kicked it, the director was in the middle of yelling at the apprentices and had his mouth open.
I used to be, pretty big on YouTube. Not huge. My videos used to get a decent amount of views. Anyway, at the time I had a huge hater who was also a YouTuber, and he would make videos hating on me. He was like a carnivore before they were cool. Like, he was like the raw meat carnivore, And he would show up to vegan events where I would like attend or vend, because at one point I had like little merch and shit like that. It was another life. And he would bring giant bloody steaks, him and his buddies, and they would eat them like raw in front of everyone to like get a reaction, and like the blood would drip down their shirts, and they would purposely wear white so it would look really dramatic. Anyway, I forgot this guy ever existed because I never fed into it. I never replied. I never made a video about him. Nothing. And I forgot this guy existed. A few days ago, tell me why he randomly comes up on my TikTok, and I'm like, oh my god, that's him. I feel bad for him now. He had a really botched eye surgery, and now he's like almost blind. And I feel bad for him. Like, I don't even feel vindicated. Like, even though he was so mean and so awful, I feel so bad for him. Like, what? That's so shitty. Anyway.
If you need proof that karma always comes back to a narcissist and that not everything is what it seems on social media, then I want you to listen to this. If you know my story, then you will be aware that I was used financially to a high degree by a narcissist who ended up being in a relationship with another woman and continued to use me financially even when I confronted him about the situation, he lied straight to my face, saying that she was just a friend of his brother and that he barely even knew her. In the time that he was in my life, he got a huge car loan out of me for a ute. And even till this day, I've got a court order to get that money back and he's still refusing to pay it back. In the time that he was in my life, he also lost his car license from speeding. And I paid for his court fees in order to get a conditional license for his work. I recently found out that he no longer has the car that he got with the car loan. But it turns out he didn't give it to anybody else. It's actually a write-off because he had an accident and the car is no longer drivable. So now he's on Marketplace trying to sell the parts of it to get some money back to make even more of a profit on the amount he already got from me for the car in the first place. He's also lost his license again, so he can't drive anywhere, and he's now hiring a labourer underneath him just so the labourer can drive them everywhere they need to go. When I was in this man's life, I gave him back his independence. It was because of me that he no longer had to depend on anybody else. Mind you, I didn't realise at the time it was because he was depending on me, but you know. But what do you know? Everything that he took and was refusing to pay back, he now no longer has. And none of it was because of me. So believe me when I say karma comes back around, good and bad karma. Now I'm just waiting for my good karma to come around. And you should too. You've got this.
Alright, y'all, quick story time. We're going to name this story time Karma, and thank you, God, for allowing me to see it. So, about 3 years ago, I got foot surgery, right? So, the next day after my foot surgery, family came over, we were eating crabs, we hear a big boom. So, we like, what is that? So we go outside. While my son goes outside, he goes to the door and he was like, y'all not going to believe this. So we like, what? Somebody just hit my car. Mind you, his car was parked. So what happened was one of the other neighbors asked the new neighbors, who were only here for about a week or two at the time, could they move their car up so that she can get in a parking space because they were taking up 2 parking spaces. So the wife decides to move the car knowing darn well she didn't know how to drive and didn't have a license. So when she moved the car, not only did she hit the car in front of her, she swerved out and landed into my son's car, and his car hit the car in front of him. So then it was like, oh wow. Then they tried to do some old crazy stuff with their little fake insurance and all this other kind of good stuff. All right, bam. So now they were like talking trash. She like, it's an accident. It's an accident. I'm like, yeah, it's an accident, but you got some fake behind insurance. Like, it ain't just an accident. Like, you sitting up here trying to pull out fake documents. Like, we not doing it. So we could either live in peace and harmony, or it's going to be crazy every single day. Like, because we're not going to just be sitting here looking at you every single day and knowing that you tried to get over. Like, that's just not going to happen. You can go back down to North Philly with that one. No. We don't do that uptown. So anyway, forget all that. So after that, what happened? Okay, so then after that, everything got straightened out. But I'm just saying, I was on crutches. So they talking trash. They was talking trash to my mom. And I'm like, now I'm cursing them out. Because if you know me, you already know, like, how I'm coming. Don't play with my family because you know how I'm coming. But the only thing is, I couldn't come how I wanted to come because I was on crutches. So I'm like, I'm still doing my big one. I'm like, I'm about to have to call my cousins, my little cousins, to take over this one because I'm on crutches. So, alright, that was all that. Well and fine, whatever. But let's just fast forward to right now at this very moment today. So I'm sitting in the car, drinking my little coffee, minding my business. And God must have wanted to make me feel good today because he knew I was sick. So I'm like, okay, I'm just sitting here. An Uber pulls up. Outside of the Uber pops a person. This person has crutches. So I'm just looking. And then this person has like 1 million bags. So then I look and I see the Uber driver pull off. And I'm like, damn, well, it was a man. Why didn't he help her? Like in the house or something. Like he see this lady is on crutches. But then I saw who the lady was. So I said, well, let me sit back and enjoy the show. So not only did she have crutches, she had 1 million bags again, right? So now she's taking the bags and she's like, first of all, he didn't even park directly in front of her house. So now she got to her house, right? With her bags. She starts throwing the bags up the steps. Normally, the typical me, the kind-hearted me, would have normally said, sis, I'm going to help. You need some help? I'll help you or whatever, whatever. But no, I'm going to watch this struggle go down. So then I'm watching her, and she's struggling, and she's struggling, and she throwing the stuff up the steps, and she getting along. And then God made it rain, like hard. It's drizzling, but God made it rain, like real hard, like shh. So I'm like, okay, I let it rain. I clear it out. Oh, all right. So then after that, sis just gave up, and she just sat on the steps. So I'm like, oh, wow, sis, like, you just give up easily. Like, keep on going, keep on going. So I'm looking, and then the rain kind of calmed down. So then she started getting again, and started throwing the stuff up the steps. So I'm just like watching, like enjoying the show. But I say all that to say, you was talking crazy when I was on my crutches, and now I got to see the fact where I could have offered you help, and I could have helped you, but karma's a bitch. And I thank God for allowing me to see this through. Because, God, sometimes you don't be doing your big ones. Like, sometimes you don't let me see things that I need to see. But this time, I got to see what I needed to see. And, like, thank you. Because her bags are still sitting out there on the step. But she finally made it in the house, y'all. But, you know, karma's a bitch.
It's funny how karma works, because at work, I used to work at this job, and my old boss did me so dirty. He begged me to go work for him, right? And so when I did, guess what happened? Like exactly a year, he comes and he like lays me off. But then while he lays me off, he tells me like, oh, with HR in the recording of the meeting, your work performance was really, really bad, blah, blah, blah. Is it because you laid me off because of the economy, or because you're saying I'm a shitty worker, right? So I went back and forth with him, and I was like, you never wrote me up, you never gave me a pip, nothing, and you're saying my performance, you never mentioned it. So then I guess he got mad at me, and then he wrote an email to the whole team of 20, which I'm pretty sure that's illegal in HR terms. And he was saying how he let me go because I was bad and I was messing up, and my performance was really bad, blah, 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 blah. Like, why would you tell the whole team that? That's private, right? Personal. And then, guess what? 2 years later, we're looking for like a firm, right? And I didn't know that he worked for this firm, so I just picked it because I found it online. And me and my director go in there, and guess who pops up? Him. And his face was like, and he was stuttering. He was like shitting bricks. It was so funny. And I was like, karma is a bitch, right? Like, karma comes at the perfect time. So I was pinging my director during the meeting, and I was telling her, like, this is, you know, he's not really a good boss, and he really, like, is dishonest, blah, 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 because he was. And then she told him at the end, she goes, at the end of the day, it's going to be Nicole's choice and who she gets along with and who she can work well with and who she wants to work with. And that guy's face was like, it was so funny, because she was being like petty, because at the end of the day, like, you need to be careful who you do dirty, even the people on the bottom, because guess what happens? He's on the top, he's partner, director level, but no, I make the shots, and he lost a big client because I'm not working with someone dishonest and, you know, bad-mouthing me, you know? No, like, if you're that dishonest, like, that's shady business. Why would we want to do business, you know, with someone like that?
So this does not seem intuitive, but it's the case. If you've ever been cheated on, you know that there are going to be people that take both sides. So even if you were the one that was cheated on, there will be people that do not take your side. A few years ago, that happened to me, and people did not take my side. Of course, there was like a split, and there was this one woman that did not take my side, who was kind of an acquaintance far out in the periphery of, you know, my friends group. She was not someone that I hung out with, but she was someone that I knew, and she really took it upon herself to slander and slash and trash me all over the internet for no freaking reason. And I was just like, what the fuck? And I don't need this. And I blocked her, and I never really thought of her until about 6 months later. Now, this is where karma comes into play, and karma, she always visits. It's about 6 months later, and I was, you know, getting into like dating again, and starting to feel, slightly better. And so I joined a dating app just for fun to meet people. And so the first day that I got the dating app, I started, putting in my age range and town, all that. And sure enough, guess who was one of the first people that I saw on that dating app? Her husband. Yes, they were still married. Karma is a bitch.
I got front row seat to a clap of instant karma the other day. It was magnificent. So my sister and I were at an amusement park the other day, and we were trying to get on this one ride that almost always has a 2-hour wait to get on this stupid ride. And at this time, there was actually a very short line. We were like, yes, let's go, right? So we went to go get in line for this ride, and as we're getting into the switchbacks, 2 kids come bolting past us, just plow right past us into line. We're like, you know what, that's fine. Kids will be kids, right? And then another one showed up and swung under the switchbacks in front of us. And then another one. And another one. Mind you, there is no one behind my sister and I. No one. It's not like there's a huge crowd of people running to get in this line. It's just me and my sister that these people are cutting in front of. At this point, 6 of them have jumped the line in front of us. And when we finally get to the end of the line through all the switchbacks, 2 people behind us go, "Excuse us, that's our family in front of you," and push past us. So now there's 8 or 9 of these people in front of us that have cut just me and my sister. There was no one else behind us for a solid few minutes. So they jumped, ducked, and crossed just to get ahead of us 2. I could practically see the steam coming out of my sister's ears. She was about to throw this whole group out of the line. But she didn't have to. Because the minute they got to the front, the worker separating everyone into the separate lines for the rows told them to step aside because their party was too large, and sent me and my sister ahead of them. And the party behind us. So they had to wait until we were off the ride before they could get in line.
Okay, this is a story about karma, something I love very, very much. The great thing about karma is you don't have to do anything. You just let things happen the way they're supposed to happen. So basically what had happened was, a couple weeks ago when I was in college, I lived in an apartment complex. And the community in the apartment complex was cool. Everyone pretty much knew everyone, not personally, but you say hi in the hallways and you be friendly like a normal person. But this girl in particular, I knew who she was and she knew who I was, and we never met formally, but we ran in the same circles. And for some reason, she was always very unfriendly. And not just to me, I had heard other people say it too, but I had just gotten a vibe from her. And I get vibes from people very fast, and I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character. I feel like I'm pretty considerate, and I try and give people the benefit of the doubt. But there was this one day that I was walking down the hallway, and she was walking in with someone else, and we passed each other in the hallway, and I said hi and greeted them both, and only the one person she was with said hi. She completely ignored me. And even then, I was like, you know what? Maybe she's having a bad day. I don't know what's going on in people's life. You don't know what's going on in people's life. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give her a free pass. So the next day, I'm walking out the side door to go to my car, and she's walking in from her car. And we are the only people in the parking lot. So I'm like, perfect. This is the perfect opportunity. She literally can't ignore me. We're walking right past each other. So I smile at her and I say hi. And she ignores me, bro. Literally looks at me and doesn't say a thing. So then I'm like, you know what? Shake it off. I'm going to my car. I'm loading up my trunk, doing what I need to do. And I was just thinking in my head, dang. Well, lo and behold, as I'm getting into my car, it's apparent that she has forgotten her side pass to get into the side door. So there she is, standing outside the side door with a bag of food in her hand in the freezing cold without the side door pass. And she's looking at me because I have a side pass. I just smiled because I have never seen karma work faster in my life. And you know what? I hope she was able to reflect on it on her 2-minute walk in the freezing cold to the front of the apartment complex. But the moral of the story is, don't let people change the way that you act. Don't let somebody being rude or unfriendly change the way that you approach life and you approach people. Because one way or another, karma is going to come around. And when it does, it's a beautiful thing.
You know, I wanted to talk about this idea of karma, like karmic debt or instant karma, because my husband and I were talking recently, and he asked me about somebody I used to work with. And he was like, whatever happened to her? Her name was Alicia. And she was somebody who made my job and my life absolutely miserable. She was my boss, and she was very, not just negative, but she was mean and nasty. And she would pick at that one thing that I didn't do absolutely perfectly. Like if I, missed a deadline by an hour, or if, whatever it was, she was just very much like looking for something to be wrong, and then she would just pounce on it. And I was a lot younger then, I was a nervous wreck about this job because of the way I was treated on a daily basis. Anyway, so he was like, whatever happened to her? And I was like, she died. And I said, and it was a kind of weird, death. Like nobody really knows exactly what happened. She did not want any remembrance. There was no service for her. It was very mysterious and strange. And she wasn't, she was a young woman. She was in her 40s. Anyway, and as we're talking about this, it dawned on me, and I said to him, I said, nobody who has done me wrong has ever had a happy life, as far as I know. And he looked at me like I was out here cursing people, putting X's on people, and that's not what I meant. What I meant was that if you're doing me dirty, you're doing me wrong, somebody who is generally a good person, like I'm not trying to purposely make people's lives bad. I'm not trying to cause trouble. I'm just trying to do what I need to do the job, get the job done, be helpful, whatever it is. I'm a genuinely, good person. Okay. I'm not saying I'm a saint, but I'm saying I'm not here trying to mess up anybody else's peace. That's not how I've ever been. So if that's how you operate and you're doing that to somebody like me, then that's just how you operate. That's just who you are. And I do believe that what you put out comes back. That negativity comes back to you. You can't necessarily have peace of mind. You can't necessarily have a good life if you're out there making other people's lives hell, or you're trying to purposely disturb somebody else's peace. So I don't know what you think about that, but that's what dawned on me today in this conversation. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments.
One thing about those tables, baby, they always turn. People really think that they can sow chaos into somebody else's life and just walk away untouched. They really believe that life won't circle back with a bill. But let me tell you this, it always does. What you pour into the world, even in secret, will hunt its way back to you. Not fast, not loud, not with fireworks. Just a slow, silent echo. Until one day you swear the universe is whispering your own behavior back to you. Karma doesn't skip a soul. She just takes her time. Let you get comfortable. Let you think you got away with it. And then what she does is she pulls the chair. Just letting you know.